All right, welcome to J&J Dynasty. Hello, it's been a little while since I've recorded. Still trying to get microphone issues solved. It sounds on my computer, everything sounds very quiet, and so I'm trying to project a little bit more, but it's also echoing very badly on my computer. So I don't know if that's only my setting for the sound or if that's everybody. So I'm just going to record this and hopefully make you guys suffer through it, I guess. So, well, we're going to go through it. So basically, this was a startup that I drafted a $100 league in 2021. The whole goal was to have a startup that would be viable for 3 to 5 years. So that's where I was going with this. And what I tried to not do was go heavy on rookies, but I was trying to go heavy on second and third year players who I actually knew how they fared in the NFL, and also people were overvaluing the rookies and going for the super big names. So there was kind of like a void, I would guess, as far as what I tried to pick for players. And we'll go through that real quickly. So here I will pop up the draft, and I'll hide myself, and we'll just go from there. So there we go. This is the draft. Okay. So I started off with Gibson, and the reason I did that is because I wanted a running back, because I knew I was going to go heavy the next couple rounds with wide receivers, because I had, as you can see, the 111, so I had the quick turn. And at that point, there was not much left for young running backs, the type of players that I wanted. Delvin Cook and those kind of guys were still there, but that's not what I was going after. So I wound up reaching a little bit, because Gibson was a mid-second type round pick at that point. So I reached a little bit and grabbed him in the first. But I turned around, and then, because I knew if I took him, then I had a plethora of wide receivers that I wanted to go after. So I wound up getting A.J. Brown, Terry McLaurin, who I ultimately wound up trading fairly rapidly, and we'll go through that, and T. Higgins. Michael Carter, you got to remember, this was going into his rookie year. It looked like he had a workhorse campaign. I liked his videos, so I got him a little bit earlier. Gaskin at that time was the lead running back in Miami, so I was coming back with a few running backs to fill in after I thought I got 3 decent wide receivers. So then I started, picking for futures with Cam Akers, because that was when he blew out his Achilles, and Gainwell would have been coming into his rookie year there. Yep, and Bateman. So I got 2 rookies. So those were my little bit reaches kind of deals, because that was the time frame that they were going. Then I got Tunyon, who I thought was at that time a nice value pick. Gabriel Davis, I knew about him, and he had a bunch of upside, and so everybody knows about him now. But then in round 14, I got Jalen Hurts, because because he had a good year, but everybody did not like him, so he fell this far. I figured I was going to be starting Matt Ryan, but I wanted a young quarterback. That's why I grabbed Hurts. And then you can see I was, after that, I was just reaching for anybody who could possibly hit as far as upside with value, like Jeff Wilson, Cole Beasley, Salvon Ottoman. That was a pick because I got Gaskin, so I got the Miami Sound machine at that time. Austin Hooper, backup tight end. Booker at this point, this was when Saquon was also injured, so he was a guy that was coming in. Terrell Williams, he had just signed with somebody, and that was just a reach for nothing, but again, that was the 20th overall pick. And I thought 2 years ago that McKinnon in Kansas City was going to have the year that he had this year, going into the year 2022, right? And DJ Dallas was a young running back. So that was my startup roster. Those were my actual picks in this deal. So the whole point of this video is to show you the kind of the maturation of the team with some younger guys. I thought that this team was going to be good enough to compete year one. I thought Debo would come back and have a big year, and he had an okay year that year, but he didn't have the big year. The next year was the big year. Then this year, now he's had a little down year. But so that's where everything's at. So we'll move on from there, and we'll get rid of the thumbnail. I don't know why, but we will put my ugly mug back up there. Video capture. All right, there. So now we'll get into the slideshow, and I will pop this up and go from there. Oh, not that one. I want to do this one. Sorry. Okay. So this was the team that I drafted, and I just went through all that. So as you can see, it's still the same team. So what I did was I made a couple trades, or this was all one trade, but it was a kind of a colossal cluster fuck, because I'll just swear in my videos, I don't care. Basically, the guy wanted to trade me ETN because I've been asking about him, and it was on Friday. So we had to make this trade in two parts because ETN or somebody, I think ETN had played on Thursday night, or Jacksonville did. So this was when ETN's foot was broken. So basically, the top portion up there is, I don't know, backwards there, right up there, right up there. That portion of it is there because that was completed after. So if you can see the bottom portion, there was 2 first-round picks. Only one was supposed to transfer. So the insurance was that he gave me the extra first-round pick. So therefore, we swapped ETN afterwards. So that's kind of how that went. So that was a little ETN trade. And as you can see, I moved a lot of nothing. I didn't like moving Michael Carter at this time, but for ETN, I was going to do it, right? So then I got a bunch of crap, but I got an extra first. I got ETN and an extra first-round pick in this transaction. So that made me happy, right? So we get to the end of the year, and after that big move, and I traded Michael Carter back and forth a couple times, and there's some other minor moves. I realized, looked at my roster with Matt Ryan and Jalen Hurts going into the next year, and I was like, well, Jalen Hurts has just had one kind of year, decent year, and nobody was solid on him. So last year I said, you know what, I've got to upgrade my quarterbacks. So what I did was I traded Jameis Winston. I don't know if that's the next picture. Oh, no, it didn't. Let's get into this, right? Oh, did I not put those in here? There's the Mahomes. What the heck? Okay. All right, I thought I'd put these in here, but I had traded had Jameis Winston, so I traded Jameis Winston when Brady was retired last time, the first time. Jameis Winston for Tom Brady. You know, because I said, you know, sounds like Brady's going to retire, and he took the trade. So then after Brady came back, a guy offered me this trade. He offered, well, this is one of the examples of a trade that I lost, or a waiver wire pickup that I lost preseason. So I have some of these videos or pictures wrong, I guess. So those are the guys some guys I'm going to get to going through my team. Jeff Wilson has been pretty productive the last 2 years, and he was, you know, hurt at that time, and Chuba was a young prospect. And I thought that Chris McCaffrey would get traded, which he did, so I was kind of high on Chuba. So I wound up dropping Jeff Wilson because he blew out his knee that off season. So when we get to it here, as you can see, I traded Tom Brady and a future first, which was this year's first, 23 first, because I thought I was going to be pretty decent if I got Brady with that roster. Because in the off season, you saw the picture, I also added Breece Hall because I was the worst team coming out of the chute with the team that I drafted. So I knew I needed to do some upgrades. So I went from Jameis Winston, traded him straight up for Brady. Then I added in a first-round pick for Pat Mahomes. Oh, and by the way, I got this is kind of a theme. I got Winston off the waiver wire for nothing. So I gave up a first for Mahomes, realistically. All right, 1 first-round pick for Mahomes. So as you can see, last year or the 2 year, boy, this is all messed up. So okay, at any rate, so this is coming into this year all the way, which is a little bit ahead of where it's supposed to be. And let me see these. Okay, so this would have been the end of the year last year, or coming into this year's roster, right? No, that's the end of this year. Okay, well, so I just got to go back. I didn't take a picture of everything where my roster was, and I thought I uploaded it, so I apologize. So I'll just have to go through the examples. Okay, so Mahomes. Okay, so last year, as far as waiver wires, I showed you how I screwed up last year actually on Wilson. No, I was actually Wilson and Chuba. So I screwed up on Wilson and went for Chuba because I thought he'd get traded. So right here, it shows you what you can do on waiver wires. Look at the dollar figures, right? Rashid Shaheed. I picked up Zonovan Knight. The Buccaneers defense. I was still trying to win. I wound up getting sixth place in this thing. I hooked the eventual champion week one. My team was by far the closest to his. All right, and then also I picked up Valdez Scantling because I was having injury issues at the end of the season, and Robert Woods also because I was having injury issues at the end of the season. With Debo being out, and AJ Brown Higgins missed a couple games, so I was struggling at the end of the year with the roster, which is why I'm trying to get deeper this year going into the season. All right. So this one here, this was also at the end of the season because when I was trying to make a run, I wound up trading Chuba. I guess that maybe that wasn't as big a mistake, but it still was a mistake with the Jeff Wilson portion. But Mike Williams, and a third round pick for Aaron Jones. So now I've got Aaron Jones. So if you're kind of keeping track already from what we talked about, I have ETN, Aaron Jones, Breece Hall, and who's my fourth running back? We'll get to it, right? Little suspense, right? So I wound up picking Aaron Jones up for the stretch run because at the end of Breece Hall blew out his knee. ETN wasn't playing a lot at the end of the season. He was in and out of the lineups for some reason. And then, why can't I remember the other guy's name? What a McIdiot. So at any rate, but at the trade deadline, also I made a move, and this Urban Kings was a guy who won the league. So he traded me I knew it was going to be a late third round pick for the NC ball. Okay, so I'm mistaken. So it wasn't actually the exact same pick, but I thought it was. So at any rate, just remember that one. So I also on waivers at the end of the year, I loaded up and I picked up Isaiah Hodgins and Sky Moore. Sky Moore for $115. I was prudent with my waiver wire acquisitions, not wasting it on a bunch of money every time on every guy, or maybe my roster was good enough that I didn't chase after a lot of those guys. So when somebody like this hit at the end of the year, when somebody made the mistake of throwing somebody out there who had some value yet, I jumped on it. Okay, so I wound up picking up Sky Moore for $115. So just remember that. All right, so this is the roster at the end of the year coming into this year. All right. And just trying to see on this one if it shows that I've already made a trade. I think that was at the end of the last year. So, yeah. So, at any rate, so that was the roster, and so I was doing pretty good with that. And so that's the team that basically got me sixth place in the league, and I should have gotten better out of it. Oh, Akers is the guy I was missing. So Akers, Breece Hall, Aaron Jones, and ETN, top four running backs, right? So, however you want it. And then, so I've got AJ Brown, Higgins, and Debo Samuel, top three, with Bateman being a fourth, and so on and so forth. Sky Moore being on there, blah blah blah. Curtis Samuel. Do I have that? Oh yeah, there's guys on it. Okay, so and then also, with all the moves I had made, I was not devoid of future talent. So I had a top six pick. So being that I traded away my first round pick for Brady, I did acquire for that other one, and so I've got the Waddle. So that wound up being pick 1-6. All right. So I didn't strap myself by giving everything away, and I've made a few moves. So this is where we're coming to. Okay. So if you remember, I referenced the Mike Gesicki for the third round pick. Well, I just traded that pick 312 for Foreman, because I think that's right. Maybe it's wrong because yeah, whatever. But basically, I traded that pick that I gave away for Gesicki. I traded it back to him, and I got Deontay Foreman for free. So basically, Deontay Foreman is just one of those guys who I think has upside. Will probably be the starting running back. Will probably be between the 20 guys, the short yardage guy, and also the goal line guy. So To me, he's an RB4 kind of thing. If you have him on your roster and if you need to put him in, he's capable of putting up 15 points, 8 to 15 points for you. He scores a touchdown, he gets that. Otherwise, he gets his, 60 yards rushing, maybe a catch, and puts up 8 points for you. So that's kind of where I was going with that. So just by keeping your roster fluid, by knowing how players are going to increase in value, you can make a lot of value adjustments, right? Other little one, just because I knew I wanted to make room on my roster because I had picked up a bunch of people, because I had people on the IR, I knew I needed to move somebody. Curtis Samuel, I wound up throwing in a 5th round pick that I wasn't going to use. Got back a mid-third, or kind of a mid to late third, so that way I could put that in a transaction. It's much easier to move than Curtis Samuel. Alright, so we're going to go on a little bit further here. And this is where I started getting tricky. So now remember this. Remember 2 different transactions and what I did, and how sneaky this is, and people don't understand why little increments will reap huge rewards. Okay? So I spent $115 on Sky Moore. Alright? And I wound up getting Deontay Johnson. Again, so I knew I had troubles at the back half of the year with injuries. So I wanted to make sure I was at least five good wide receivers deep, or potential with Bateman, right? So I wanted to increase and make sure I had extra players, because I bound and determined to win a championship this year in this league. So Keep Trade Cut says, yeah, you're probably one of the best teams. Yeah, screw you, Keep Trade Cut, you suck. Because I hate all your valuations. When I want to rip somebody off, I use Keep Trade Cut and I send that to them to rip them off. At any rate, or I reference them as far as a trade. So now take a look at this. So I gave him my 1st round pick. He gave me his 2nd round pick. You kind of saw the roster that I started with, or coming into the year. Pretty decent. 4 solid running backs, 4 solid wide receivers. Dalton Schultz as a tight end, and Mahomes and Hurts as quarterbacks. So I don't like doing what I'm doing with the quarterbacks, but with that being said, I don't want to be left alone with this team by having to pick up a waiver wire guy to start him to try to win a championship. I want to hang on to them. They're young enough I can hang on to them for a couple years and still get rid of them and get a truckload of value. But I do not want to lose a championship because I'm not hanging on to a top flight quarterback. Not to mention I've got 2 of the top 4 quarterbacks. I'm handcuffing at least one team from getting a top 6 quarterback. So that's kind of how I look at it. It's probably not the smartest way to play it, but that's that. So let's get on to the next part of this. Remember, well, I guess maybe I didn't even explain this all the way. Sky Moore, $115. 1st round pick, which is probably and better be 111, 112. For Deontay Johnson, and his 2nd round pick. He is at pick 1-2 or 1-3 this year. So his team is not going to improve. So basically, I went back in the 1st round from, say, 110, 11, 112 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So I'm saying that's a difference of 4 to 6 slots to get Deontay Johnson. 4 to 6 slots and $115 to get Deontay Johnson. I know that he's had a bad year last year. Increase in Pickett's play. At least maybe he makes a few more of those decent catches. Maybe he doesn't drop half as many balls. And, like I said, I'm looking for him to be my 4th wide receiver. It's pretty darn good. Let's get to this, right? So let's go on to the next slide. So I was sitting there, and the guy sends me this trade. So he wanted just to give me Tyreek Hill straight up, and I said no, that's just too much because I still want to upgrade my wide receiver. So if you look on there at the far end over there, you see that 312 pick. That's the pick I got for free for Gesicki. All right, so I took a 3rd round pick, I traded it, I got Gesicki back for that same pick basically, and I got Deontay Foreman free. So now I've got already Deontay Foreman 3, so 312 is free to me basically. All right, so I throw in 312. do that 1-6 pick and Deontay Johnson. Now remember, I've got $115 and about probably 6 picks sliding back in Deontay Johnson. So if you just think about Deontay Johnson 6 picks back and 312 free pick, I still got $115 and 6 picks slide back for Tyreek Hill. But I did give up 106 and got 211. So that's actually a round and a half. So if I got a half round for Deontay Johnson and 2 rounds for that, for $115, a free 3rd round pick, sliding back twice, a grand total of 2 rounds, excuse me, I got Tyreek Hill. Sliding, not giving up a 2nd round, sliding back 2 rounds. And $115 got me Tyreek Hill. Little increments. Wow. Coffee's not agreeing with me. So, with that being said, I went from 1-6 to 2-11. I still had a 3-9 pick. Okay? Coming down to the end here, I apologize. So I still have future draft capital because I made a couple other trades with Curtis Samuel and other things. So I still have an early 2nd, a late 2nd, an early 3rd, and a late 3rd. So I can still trade a 2nd and a 3rd, hopefully mine, to get other assets if I need to throughout the year. So I still haven't handcuffed myself with that, right? But this is the big thing. This is what my roster currently looks like. Jalen Hurts and Mahomes. All right? Akers, ETN, Aaron Jones, and then at the bottom, Breece Hall. 4 starting running backs, right? I didn't get all that in there, but 4 starting. And I've got the backup. You're going to do RB0. These are the type of guys you want as starters in an RB0 type of situation where you're just going to get 10 to 12 points from them. Gibson, Carter, Gainwell, Foreman, right? So I built the team 2 levels deep, right? Alright, sorry about that. So I still only have Schultz, so I still have to upgrade that. But then if you look at then, I've got A.J. Brown, T. Higgins, Tyreek Hill, and Deebo Samuel as my top 4 now. So I better be locked and loaded. And then I've got some young guys with Bateman. So Bateman's not even in my top 4 anymore. Bateman, Bell, Isaiah Hodgins, and Rashid Shaheed. I really like as far as young players. So I've got those guys stepping in yet. So that's where I'm at with this roster, and I really think that this is going to have a shot at probably winning a championship. And so I just want to end here this video and put up the images. So here you go. That's my current picks so far this year. So I still have that roster with the picks, right? The picks this year. And I think it's an incredibly good roster sitting the way it's sitting. I still have to pare it down, obviously, just to even make the picks. But then also you still have, I still have the future picks down here. So with all that being said, this is where I'm sitting currently, early April. This is before the draft. I think I'm set up really good to be able to trade some guys at the NFL draft and before. Like I said, this is going to be an August rookie draft for this league. So I've still got a bunch of time to improve the roster and know where guys are sitting and reshuffle it before I actually have to make any cuts. So with that being said, let me know what you think about this build coming in. I kind of screwed year 1 and year 2 up. I thought I had a little bit more there, but obviously my voice would have made it anyways. So let me know what you think. Give me some comments below. If you have trade requests or something like that as far as some roster moves, put them in the link it. Put them in the comments below, and I will try and, if I can, give you some help. Lord knows I'm not an expert, but I think I make some pretty good moves at times. So, all right, well, with that being said, we'll end this video. Best of luck to you this year with your season acquisitions, and we'll go from there.